Welcome back to Nick in Detail. I'm Nick, and in today's video, we're going to be reviewing the Broncos and Warriors game, which took place in Brisbane last night. In this video, I'll give my thoughts on the game, who was my standout player, and look ahead to who's next for the Warriors. But without further ado, let's get into today's video. The Warriors, for the second time this season, have put 40 points on the Brisbane Broncos. Their absolute thrashing scoreline of 40 points to 6 does keep the Warriors in third. However, it does put pressure on the Penrith Panthers, who, of course, for the second time this season, have lost back-to-back games. And, of course, that points differential only at about 10 points. And, of course, with 3 rounds left in the season, anything can happen. But considering there's only 2 points between them and the top of the table, Sydney Roosters. But let's get my thoughts on this game. This was another masterclass performance from the Warriors. Once again, just giving it to the Broncos right from kickoff, just putting on that pressure, and the Warriors are just looking like such a dangerous side at the moment. It didn't help with the Broncos defensively were woeful. They left so many holes in that defense that the Warriors were able just to comfortably cruise through them and score about 20 odd unanswered points in that first half alone. It was a great showing from the Warriors. It's really great to see them being able to keep this form going for another week. The fact that once again they were able to keep the Broncos pretty quiet like they did with the Panthers last week. And in fact, we did see, even though the Warriors going to it down to a yellow card late in that first half, they were able to be so defensively strong. They do have the second best defense in the league this year, and that is just showing that pure defense has been outstanding for the Warriors once again last night. Once again, just putting on lots of pressure, just not making any errors at all, although I thought at the end of the game there, they probably were a bit woeful defensively, but I think that partly coming from what was such a physical game and an outstanding showing from them. But once again, just this consistency is so great to watch, and for a second time this season, another 40 points on the Broncos. The Broncos were very disappointing. This is a team that currently sits second to bottom and have lost their last 3 games, well now 4 games of course, including this result last night, and they just never really got going. Didn't help with their star player Reece Walsh, went off injured towards the end of the first half, what looked like a bit of a hamstring injury there, and we hope obviously for him, because he's such a great player to watch, it's not too serious. And of course as well, their playmaker Adam Reynolds, of course, currently out with injury, ruled out for this game. This Broncos team just didn't look very organised, and that result last night summing up what's been a very disappointing year for the defending NRL champions. For the Warriors though, another outstanding performance, now yet another win, another big performance, and once again closing that gap on the Roosters and putting a lot of pressure on the Penrith Panthers, who have not been looking fantastic over the last few weeks. But for me, another outstanding performance from the Warriors, and very, very important they got this result with only 3 games left in the regular season. So who was my standout player? Well, this was a really tricky one to pick because I thought everyone in the team was outstanding. And for me, not really just one player stood out on its own. But for me, I'm going to give my man of the match last night to the man who leads the Warriors try scorers this year with 24 tries this season. And for me, has been very much a big player for this Warriors team this year, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak. Another big performance from the Kiwis and Warriors winger. A great try he scored towards the end of the game as well. Just a pure technique to score that under that sort of pressure, that wide out, just shows the quality he is. And to be fair, for me, probably the best winger in the NRL this season, and for me, over the last couple of years. Just the way he can change his pace from an absolute kind of casual sort of run to an explosion of pace just like that, for me, just makes him such an outstanding player. And as I said before, very much this key player in this Warriors team this year. As I said before, leads the try scoring stats for the Warriors this year. 24 tries for him, and just in the form of his life at the moment. Him along with Cam Pereira have really made a difference to that Warriors wing this year, and they look a constant threat out wide every time they get the ball. Let alone, of course, Dallin Watene-Zelezniak, who has been outstanding this year as well. And for me, just in general, the Warriors attack just looks so threatening. It's something that we've not really talked about over the last few years, just that Warriors attack looking threatening. But they look a threat every time they're in that final 22. When they're near that try line, they're always going to create and cause problems, and they certainly did that last night. And Dallin Watene-Zelezniak played a big part in that. And for me, because of how great that try was my standout performer. A great performance from the Warriors and Kiwi winger, my standout player for this match. So what is next for the Warriors? Well, they will have another away game to come. This will actually be their last away game of the regular season because the last 2 games will be in Auckland, but they head on the road. They're in Sydney next weekend, and they will take on the South Sydney Rabbitohs. The Rabbitohs currently sitting in 6th at the moment, of course, coached by the great Wayne Bennett, and of course coming off their big win over the other night in Sydney against the Bulldogs, a team that, of course, the Warriors have really struggled against over the last couple of years. But for Warriors, they'll be heading to Sydney. This will be a very tricky game. The Rabbitohs, of course, are a very solid outfit. As I said, they're in 6th at the moment, and are actually playing some pretty good brand of rugby league at the moment. And what will be a tricky game for them as they head out to their final away game of the regular season next weekend in Sydney. For the Warriors, next up, it will be an away trip to the South Sydney Rabbitohs. So that'll be it for me. Yeah, once again, another outstanding performance from the Warriors. I can't even recall the last time we had these sorts of consistent performances from the Warriors, let alone in the matter of these scorelines. They're putting on some relatively pretty big outfits in this competition, and for me, this is really great to watch as well. I think one concern, of course, Luke Metcalf going off injured. I thought he was actually looking really great last night before he came off what looked like to be a bit of a hamstring injury. Hopefully not too serious. Looks like it's a similar injury than what Te Maire Martin is currently out with, and very much for Luke Metcalf's sake, and also for our sakes, because Luke Metcalf has been outstanding for the Warriors in his last couple of games. We hope it's not too serious and he is fully available for next week's matchup. But I thought Chanel Harris-Tavita was outstanding in that 6th jersey last night, really stepped up in Metcalf's absence as he has done all season with that performances in that number 6 jersey. And yes, for me, really excited to see what he can do in these next coming games. But in general, great performance from the Warriors, and we're going to end it on that. So that's going to be it from me, and until next time, I'll see you later.